Picture this scenario for a second. You are standing in a crowded room.
Okay.
And it is intensely quiet, like suffocatingly quiet. In the center is a table, and two students are sitting across from each other.
Right.
And they're just staring intently at a set of 28 small rectangular tiles.
Just completely locked in.
Exactly. There's a clock ticking down from 15 minutes. The pressure in the room is just absolutely wild. And one player slides a tile forward.
Okay, the move is made.
Right. The other player stares at their own hand, realizes they're completely blocked, and is forced to utter two words that just shift the entire momentum of the room.
Move on.
Move on. Now, if you're looking at this from the outside, you, the learner, might think you're just watching a particularly intense game night.
Yeah, like a casual student club blowing off some steam between lectures.
Exactly. But I need you to completely erase that image from your mind right now. Because what you are actually witnessing is the engine of a highly structured, self-sustaining microeconomy.
It really is.
You're looking at a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Those tiles aren't just a game. They are the foundation of a system designed to generate jobs, negotiate corporate sponsorships, teach high-stakes litigation strategy, and actually put tangible income into the pockets of students who are otherwise totally broke.
Which is huge.
It's massive. So, welcome to the Deep Dive. We're thrilled to have you joining us today because, okay, let's unpack this. We are looking at the architecture of the Optimus Optimi Ecosystem.
And specifically its flagship initiative, right? The National Domino Competition in Ghana.
Yes. And it really is a masterclass in like behavioral economics and structural engineering, all disguised as a pastime.
It's brilliant. And we really have to look at why this is so incredibly urgent right now, because we are living through this universal, almost expected paradox of modern life.
Oh, the student paradox.
Exactly. You, as a student, spend years, sometimes decades, sitting in classrooms. You invest a staggering amount of time, an immense amount of mental effort, and, let's be honest, a significant amount of money into your academic life.
So much money.
Right. You take the exams, you write the papers, you cross the graduation stage, and then you step out into the real world, and there is this jarring, almost comical realization that you don't actually know how to do anything practical.
It's terrifying. You have the degree, but you have no clear direction.
No immediate source of income. And the executive functioning skills the market is begging for, well, they seem to be completely missing from your syllabus.
Because we've built an educational structure that heavily prioritizes theoretical accumulation.
Yes, but it completely isolates you from economic reality.
The system basically tells you, first you learn.
Right.
And then eventually, hopefully, if you're lucky and you know the right people, you earn.
And if you don't seamlessly make that transition.
Well, society essentially blames you.
Exactly.
They say you didn't network enough or you didn't find the right entry-level internship. But what happens when the stakes of that academic journey are suddenly raised to an unprecedented level?
Which is exactly what is happening right now.
Right. Because we are seeing a massive shift, specifically in Ghana, regarding legal education. The landscape is fundamentally changing.
It is a complete paradigm shift in the academic pressure cooker. The new legal education system being introduced requires law students to write a national bar examination before they can be called to the bar.
And the mandate here is clear.
Very clear. This examination is going to be exceptionally high in standard and absolutely grueling in its intensity.
It's designed to be a definitive, unyielding filter.
Exactly. So if you are a student staring down the barrel of that kind of rigorous, high-stakes testing, the traditional passive model of just going to class and hoping for the best, it's no longer a viable survival strategy.
You cannot just be a theoretical sponge anymore.
No. You're going to be under immense psychological and academic strain.
And while you're trying to survive this incredibly intense new bar exam standard, I mean, you still have to eat.
You still have to pay rent.
You still have to buy textbooks. The economic clock doesn't stop ticking just because your academic curriculum got harder.
It really doesn't.
And that is exactly the mission of today's deep dive. The Optimus Optimi Ecosystem is a blueprint that says, look, we know the pressure is rising.
We know the exams are getting harder.
So we're going to build a system where you can earn an income, gain real-world professional skills, and receive high-level academic mentorship.
All within a self-sustaining student network.
Right. This isn't about waiting until graduation to start your life. This is about building a sustainable future today.
And we also have to contextualize this within the generational shift we're experiencing.
Oh, the alpha to beta era transition.
Exactly. We are moving from the alpha generation into what sociologists and technologists are calling the beta era.
And what does that actually mean for the learner listening right now?
Well, we are dealing with a cohort of students who are hyper-connected. They are incredibly tech-savvy and deeply aware of global economic trends.
But they often find themselves physically isolated.
Yes, or completely disconnected from tangible, real-world operational experience. The digital world has given them access to infinite information, but the physical world has kind of walled off practical opportunity.
And the Optimus Optimi model bridges that exact gap.
It does. It takes that beta-era desire for immediate feedback, structured progression, and community-driven ecosystems, and it anchors it in real-world administrative grit.
And face-to-face tactical competition.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. Because to truly understand how you build an actual economy out of dominoes, we have to look at the architect.
The founder who proved that this entire philosophy actually works.
Yes. We have to look at lawyer Daniel Kofi Kayer-Nkrumah.
Yeah.
Because you don't build a system this rigorous unless you have personally lived the alternative and rejected it.
And his background is, frankly, astonishing.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're talking about someone who pursued his Bachelor of Laws at the University of Ghana, Legon, and his qualifying certificate in law at the Ghana School of Law.
But he didn't just casually pass through the system.
No, he dominated it. He was recognized as the best graduating special needs student at both institutions.
And we need to pause and truly analyze what that means in practice.
Definitely.
He stands among the very few individuals with visual impairment to pursue and complete undergraduate and professional legal education in Ghana.
Which is incredible.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, legal education is notoriously text-heavy. I mean, it requires poring over thousands of pages of case law,
Statutes, complex judgments.
densely written, complicated texts, to navigate that environment, to synthesize that volume of information, and to emerge at the top of your class while managing a visual impairment.
It requires an unfathomable level of personal organization.
Resilience and sheer intellectual capacity.
It is mind-blowing. The level of friction in just accessing the baseline materials would break most people.
Oh, absolutely.
But what is truly foundational to this ecosystem we're discussing today isn't just his academic awards. It is his complete and utter rejection of the passive student timeline. While his peers were likely sequestered in the library, obsessing solely over their next exam.
He was actively infiltrating the highest levels of the professional world.
The blueprint we're looking at lists his professional exposure while he was still a student, and it reads like the resume of a senior partner.
It is a masterclass in aggressive professional development. He was working at the Judicial Service of Ghana and the Supreme Court.
And let's be clear about what that entails. He wasn't there fetching coffee.
Or filing paperwork in the basement.
No. He was actively contributing to legal research. He was preparing case summaries for actual sitting judges.
Imagine being a student and the synthesis of a case that you write is being relied upon by a Supreme Court justice to formulate an opinion.
The margin for error is zero.
Absolutely zero. The analytical rigor required is absolute. He was actively collaborating with senior judicial figures and navigating systems connected directly to the office of the Chief Justice.
And he didn't stop at the judiciary. He also embedded himself in the corporate banking sector.
Right, at the Ghana Standard Chartered Bank headquarters.
He was inside the digital and finance environment, untangling regulatory frameworks for a massive multinational financial institution.
And simultaneously...
Oh, wait, there's more.
Yes. Simultaneously, he was at Dennis Law Ghana, which is a major legal tech and resource platform.
Go foul.
He was leading student-focused projects and actually developing the academic materials that other students would use.
What's fascinating here is the deliberate cross-pollination of skills.
Yes.
He is touching the absolute pinnacle of legal interpretation at the Supreme Court.
He's touching the brutal, high-stakes reality of corporate finance at Standard Chartered.
And he's touching academic resource distribution at Dennis Law.
He essentially built his own bespoke multidisciplinary apprenticeship while everyone else was just taking notes in a lecture hall.
And that high-level competence translated immediately into his post-qualification reality.
It did. He went to work for AB and David Africa, a premier law firm.
And was immediately thrown into massive, complex sectors. Aviation, corporate finance, taxation, intellectual property.
Right. He was involved in drafting the Public Services Commission bill, which was sponsored by the World Bank.
He was doing legal work related to the TEMA motorway reconstruction. I mean, massive nation-building infrastructure projects.
It's incredible.
But here is where I have to push back for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Because if I am a 20-year-old law student listening to this, staring down the barrel of this terrifying new national bar exam,
Right.
I might look at Lawyer Nkrumah's resume and say, okay, that's incredible. The man is clearly a force of nature. He's a genius outlier.
Sure.
But how does that help me? It's incredibly easy to say, just go work at the Supreme Court and draft case summaries while taking full-time classes.
But you can't just walk into the Chief Justice's office and ask for a desk.
Exactly. The door's locked. How does a normal, average, struggling student replicate a path that was carved out by a sheer anomaly of human willpower?
That is the pivotal question. And it is the exact realization that led to the creation of the Optimus Optimi Ecosystem.
Ah.
Lawyer Nkrumah understood perfectly that his path was an extreme exception. He knew that the traditional educational system actively discourages this kind of dual-track development.
Because the system doesn't facilitate a student working on World Bank bills.
Exactly. It actively hoards those opportunities for the already established elite.
So what did he do?
So rather than just enjoying his personal success, he decided to reverse engineer his own trajectory.
Wow.
He asked himself, how do I take the specific mechanisms that made me successful? The intense pressure handling, the real-world research application, the executive functioning, the financial independence,
Right.
And how do I build an artificial environment that simulates all of that for any student willing to put in the work?
He open sourced his own success.
Yes, exactly.
He realized you can't realistically send 1,000 undergrads to intern at the Supreme Court. There aren't enough judges, and there isn't enough bandwidth.
So you have to build an internal factory.
You have to create an enclosed microeconomy that generates its own pressure, its own stakes, and its own real-world administrative challenges.
And to build an economy from scratch, you need a currency of engagement.
You need a flagship platform that gets people in the door, forces them to interact, and generates roles and value.
And this is where the sheer brilliance of the design reveals itself. Because they didn't choose debate.
They didn't choose mock trial.
They didn't choose coding marathons. They chose something that sounds almost absurd until you look under the hood.
They chose dominoes.
It is a stunningly subversive choice. When you think of cultivating elite legal minds and corporate strategists, dominoes is not the first thing that comes to mind.
Not at all.
But that is exactly why it works. It is universally accessible. Almost every household has a set, or at least knows what they are.
The barrier to understanding the physical object is zero.
Right. But the way the Optimus Optimi ecosystem has completely rewritten the rules of engagement turns those 28 tiles into an intellectual crucible.
So we are looking at their official game manual and competition rules, and they have instituted a format called the domino response run.
And I assure you, this bears absolutely no resemblance to the casual game you play on a Sunday afternoon.
None whatsoever. Let's really dive into the mechanics of this.
Let's do it.
Because the math and the psychology behind the rules are what make this a simulation of high-level corporate warfare.
The game uses a standard 28-tile double six domino set.
For anyone who hasn't looked at a set closely, that means the tiles range from blank blank up to 6-6.
Right. The rules explicitly state this is a fast-paced, tactical evolution of traditional play.
It is designed to reward intelligence, sequencing, tactical restraint, and most importantly, momentum control.
And it all starts with what they call the valid distribution rule.
Yes, let's look at the mathematical integrity of that rule, because it's fascinating.
In a standard two-player game within this league, each player is dealt 14 tiles. So the entire 28-tile board is in play between the two of you.
Okay, got it.
Now, in a double six set, there are exactly 7 tiles that feature any given number.
Right, so for example, there are exactly 7 tiles with a 4 on them.
Exactly. The blank 4, 1 4, 2 4, 3 4, 4 4, 5 4, and 6 4.
The valid distribution rule states that if a player is dealt all 7 tiles of a single number, the hand is declared void, and it is an automatic reshuffle and redeal.
The absolute maximum of one number you can hold is 6.
And when I first saw that, I thought, why go through the hassle of reshuffling? But when you actually game out the probability and the strategy, it is essential for competitive fairness.
Completely essential.
Because if I hold all 7 4s, I completely monopolize that number. My opponent has mathematically 0 chance of ever responding if the board requires a 4.
You could just dictate the entire pace of the game without having to think.
Right. It would reduce a game of skill to a game of pure luck based on the draw.
By capping the maximum at 6, they ensure that no matter how dominant your hand looks, there is always a statistical vulnerability.
Your opponent always has at least one tile of that number somewhere in their hand, which means that there's always a tactical opening.
It ensures that the game can never be won before the first tile is even played. You have to earn the victory through execution.
Okay, so let's walk through the actual anatomy of a play, because this is where the psychological pressure of the response run format really takes hold.
Imagine we're sitting at the table.
Okay, I'm at the table.
I am player A, you are player B. I open the game by playing any tile from my hand. Let's say I play the blank 1 tile.
Okay.
In the parlance of the league, the number that is exposed and waiting to be matched is called the live number.
So right now, 1 is the live number. The target is painted on the 1.
Yes.
And under the response run rules, I must respond to that one. I cannot choose to play off the blank side. I have to address the immediate threat you just put on the board.
Exactly. You are legally obligated by the rules of the game to answer the 1. So let's say you look at your hand and you have the 1-6 tile. You place it down, connecting the 1s.
Now the 6 is exposed. The live number has immediately shifted to 6.
The momentum swings back to me, and I must now answer the 6. It creates this rapid-fire chain reaction, this volley of shifting variables.
Here's where it gets really interesting. What happens when the chain breaks? What happens when you shift the live number to something I simply do not have? Because this isn't a casual game where we just pass the turn and smile.
Not at all.
The rules introduce the move on command, and this mechanic is brilliant. If the live number is a 6, and I stare at my 13 remaining tiles and realize I don't have a single 6, I am forced to vocalize my inability to respond.
You have to look me in the eye and say, move on.
And those 2 words trigger the most devastating phase of the game.
The run, or the momentum phase.
Yeah.
The moment you say move on, you forfeit your right to play. But I don't just play 1 tile and pass it back to you. I get to keep playing.
Wait, really?
Yes. I get to string together a sequence of tiles from my hand, completely unchallenged as long as I can keep matching my own live numbers.
You become the sole dictator of the board.
I do.
And as the player who said, move on, my reality becomes incredibly grim.
You just have to sit there.
I have to sit there in complete silence. The rules demand absolute tactical restraint. I cannot complain. I cannot try to play out of turn.
You just have to watch me empty my hand, tile after tile, reducing my count, while yours stays stagnant.
Psychological torture.
It is, but this is exactly where the real-world application comes into sharp focus. Let's connect this to the courtroom, or the corporate boardroom.
Okay.
Have you ever watched a skilled litigator during cross-examination?
Sure.
There are moments where the opposing counsel is just on an absolute roll. They are laying down fact after fact, trapping your witness, building an undeniable momentum.
The instinct for a young, inexperienced lawyer is to panic.
Exactly. To jump up and yell, objection, on flimsy grounds, just to break the tension, to interrupt, to flail.
Oh, that is a perfect analogy. The young lawyer panics because they hate the feeling of losing control of the room.
But the veteran litigator does exactly what the domino response run teaches you to do.
They sit there in complete silence.
They absorb the hits. They maintain a completely neutral expression because they know that eventually the opposing counsel is going to ask one question too many.
They're going to open a specific door.
Introduce a specific piece of evidence that the veteran lawyer has the exact counter-argument for.
Precisely. And in the domino ecosystem, that moment of strategic reversal is codified as catching on the break.
This is the pinnacle of the game's tactical depth. Let's go back to our scenario.
Okay, I'm back at the table.
You said move on because you didn't have a 6. I am now on a run. I play my 6-3.
I don't have a 3, so I stay silent.
I play a 3 blank. You don't have blank. You stay silent. You are just absorbing the hits.
Right.
But then I get careless. I want to get rid of a heavy tile, so I play my blank 5.
And boom, I look at my hand and I have the 5-5 double. The moment you expose that 5, the run is over.
Yeah.
I don't ask for permission. I slam that 5-5 down on the board. I have responded to the newly played live number and instantly, violently control of the game shifts back to me.
You have caught me on the break.
All of your momentum is dead, and now you have to answer my newly established live number.
It requires immense emotional regulation. You have to endure the pain of the move-on phase without losing your focus.
Scanning your hand, memorizing the tiles I am playing, and waiting for the exact mathematical opening to strike.
The official manual is incredibly explicit about this philosophy. It states, and I quote the intent here, "This game is not about luck. It is about momentum, control, intelligence.
They've intentionally designed a game that punishes careless sequencing and rewards risk control.
You cannot just play the first tile that matches. You have to look 3 moves ahead.
You have to ask yourself, if I play this 4-2, does it reopen a number that my opponent previously showed strength in?
Am I handing them the knife they're going to stab me with?
Exactly. It's risk management in its purest form.
So, what does this all mean?
Well, it means Lawyer Nkrumah took a simple set of 28 tiles and turned it into an intellectual sparring ring.
He created a simulator that forces students to practice the exact executive functioning skills, decision-making under pressure, tactical restraint, working memory, and emotional regulation
That the national bar exam and the corporate world will eventually demand of them.
But an intellectual sparring ring is just a localized phenomenon unless you build a scalable infrastructure to house it.
Right. A great game between 2 people in a room doesn't solve the macroeconomic problem of broke students needing jobs.
And this brings us to the operational directive document, which outlines the construction of the National League structure.
And the ambition detailed in these pages is just staggering. They're not organizing a weekend tournament.
No, they are building a shadow professional sports league.
They are building the English Premier League, but for dominoes, run entirely by students.
The directive lays out a beautifully ruthless, infinitely scalable hierarchy.
It is divided into 3 primary player divisions. At the foundation, you have the rookie division.
This is the entry point for new developing players who are just learning to handle the psychological pressure of the response run.
Above them is the elite division, populated by intermediate competitors who have proven they understand tactical sequencing.
And at the absolute pinnacle is the pro division, where the top performing battle-tested players reside.
And what gives these divisions their actual weight, what prevents this from just being a set of meaningless titles, is the implementation of a strict promotion and relegation system.
Oh, this is where it gets real.
Right. At the conclusion of every season, the safety net is completely removed. The top performers in the rookie division are promoted to elite.
The top elites ascend to the pro division.
And if you are sitting comfortably in the pro division, thinking you have made it, and you start slacking off,
If you finish at the bottom of the league table,
you don't get a participation trophy.
you get relegated.
You are stripped of your pro status and sent back down to the elite division to fight for your life again.
The bottom elites drop back to rookie.
It's a brilliant mechanism.
Yeah.
Because it ensures that the competitive standard never stagnates.
Yeah.
You are perpetually fighting to either climb the ladder or survive the drop.
If we look at the psychological conditioning this provides, it is a perfect mirror of the beta era corporate reality.
How so?
Well, in the modern economy, you do not simply achieve a title, junior partner, senior analyst, director, and coast toward retirement.
No, the market is too fast. The technology is evolving too rapidly.
Exactly. You have to continually perform, continually prove your value, or you will absolutely be overtaken by hungrier, sharper talent rising from below.
The Domino League institutionalizes this reality. It normalizes the concept of having to earn your keep every single season.
And they don't want this to just be a lonely individual pursuit.
No, the documents outline a very deliberate 3-phase roadmap to evolve the entire sport into a team-based ecosystem.
Phase 1 is the individual era.
That is where it starts. Players competing one-on-one, simply to build the talent pool and establish who the heavy hitters are.
Phase 2 introduces the hybrid era, where factions and teams begin to organically form, and they start actively scouting the top individual players.
But Phase 3 is the ultimate end game.
A full team system.
Yes. In Phase 3, independent participation is severely restricted. If you want to play, you must belong to a registered, officially recognized team.
The mechanics of how a team match operates in this ecosystem are meticulously detailed.
And it completely shatters the illusion of this being a casual porch game.
A recognized team consists of 4 to 6 registered players. They must elect a team captain who functions essentially as the general manager.
And they can optionally appoint a coach.
Right. When Team A faces Team B, it is not a chaotic multiplayer free-for-all. It is a highly choreographed series of strategic one-on-one gladiatorial bouts.
Game 1 is player A1 versus player B1. Game 2 is player A2 versus player B2.
And the pre-match strategy is where the real game is played.
As a team captain, you have to submit your official lineup before the match begins, and the rules are draconian.
No changes are allowed after submission.
But more importantly, there are absolutely no substitutions allowed during a game.
Which ratchets the tension to an unbelievable degree.
Let's say you're the coach. You put your best rookie in for Game 3, thinking it is a favorable matchup.
But the opposing team anticipated that, and they matched your rookie against their most ruthless, clinical, elite player.
You realize within the first 3 tiles that your rookie is getting psychologically dismantled.
They're trapped in a move-on loop, they are visibly panicking, they are making careless sequence errors.
As the coach, in a normal sport, you would call a timeout. You would tap them out, sub in a veteran, and stop the bleeding.
Not here.
In the Optimus Optimi League, the coach has to stand there, hands tied, and watch their player get completely crushed.
You can only substitute between games.
It forces the leadership to take absolute accountability for their roster decisions.
And it forces the individual player to learn how to survive and adapt when they are isolated under fire. There is no one coming to save you.
The structural inspiration from professional football, specifically the mechanics of FIFA or the Premier League, is heavily apparent and incredibly effective.
The Elite architecture aims for a 20-team structure, playing a grueling 38-match season.
They utilize a standard, universally understood point system. 3 points for an outright win, 1 point for a draw, and 0 for a loss.
But perhaps the most fascinating deviation from traditional dominoes is that these matches are time-based, not round-based.
Yes, the matches are recommended to last 15 to 20 minutes. You are playing against the opponent, but you are also playing against the clock.
And my absolute favorite detail in the entire rulebook, it is so brilliant, is that just like in professional football, the match officiator is explicitly granted the authority to add injury time or stoppage time.
I love that.
Yeah.
It is a phenomenal administrative detail.
If a player is intentionally stalling to run out the clock because they are ahead on points, or if there is a prolonged dispute over a rule that requires the referee to intervene, the clock doesn't just expire.
The referee looks at their watch, calculates the delay, and holds up a board adding 3 minutes of stoppage time.
It introduces a massive variable of uncertainty.
You think you've survived the 15 minutes, and suddenly you have to survive 3 more minutes of intense tactical pressure.
And what happens at the end of the 38-match season if 2 teams are tied on points?
They don't just flip a coin. The first tiebreaker is essentially goal difference.
In this domino ecosystem, goal difference is calculated by taking the total number of tiles you have successfully played across the entire season, minus the total number of tiles left remaining in your hand when games ended.
It mathematically rewards aggressive finishing play. You can't just squeak by with passive draws. You have to actively dominate the board to build your differential.
But this complex team structure raises a very practical, real-world administrative question.
Right. How do you manage the distribution of talent?
If one team happens to recruit 5 savants on day 1, do they just dominate the league for a decade?
The founders anticipated this exact problem and introduced a mechanism that I believe is the crown jewel of the simulation.
The transfer market.
I am obsessed with this concept because the moment you introduce a transfer market, you are no longer just playing a game with tiles.
You are playing a game with human capital.
The ecosystem establishes an open or free agent division for registered players who do not currently have a team.
Team captains are expected to scout this pool. But more importantly, teams can negotiate to transfer players away from other teams.
However, these transfers are strictly regulated. You can't just poach a player on a Tuesday night.
Transfers can only occur during the preseason or during a highly defined, time-limited mid-season transfer window.
Let's role-play this for a second, because this is where the student participants are gaining invaluable, undeniable, real-world skills.
Okay, let's do it.
Imagine you are a 21-year-old law student. But in this ecosystem, you are the general manager of a pro division team.
Sounds stressful already.
You are currently sitting in 4th place. You are 3 points out of 1st place. But your anchor player, your reliable finisher, is suddenly overwhelmed by their academic midterms, and their performance is tanking.
The mid-season transfer window opens in 48 hours. And stays open for exactly 1 week.
I am looking at the league table, and I see a team in the relegation zone of the pro division.
They are sinking fast.
But they have one brilliant, isolated player. Let's call him the Domino Whisperer. I know that if I can acquire him, my team wins the championship.
But the captain of that sinking team knows you are desperate.
So now, as a student, I am not thinking about tiles. I am engaged in high-stakes corporate negotiation.
What is the transfer fee? How much of your team's shared prize pool are you willing to promise this new player?
Can I convince him that joining my roster is better for his individual ranking?
You are learning contract negotiation.
You are learning talent valuation.
You are assessing risk versus reward. You are managing a budget.
And you are doing all of this under a strict deadline dictated by the league's administrative body.
A student who successfully navigates that mid-season transfer window has just acquired more practical business experience than they would in 3 years of theoretical management lectures.
They are actively living the beta era requirement of complex systems management.
Which perfectly answers the massive looming elephant in the room.
We have talked about the founder's brilliance. We have mapped out the intense mathematical psychology of the response run.
We have built this massive 20-team, 38-match Premier League structure with transfer windows and stoppage time.
But let's go back to the very first minute of this deep dive.
We started by talking about students who are economically stranded, students who need to pay rent while studying for a brutal national bar exam.
So how does this elaborate game actually put tangible money in their pocket today?
Where's the actual capital coming from?
The economic framework is laid out with clinical precision in the registration guide document, and it all begins with an incredibly accessible, brilliantly priced entry point.
The registration fee for Season 1 is set at exactly 200 CDs per participant.
Now, if you are building an exclusive, high-end corporate networking club, you might charge 10 times that.
But setting it at 200 CDs is a highly deliberate choice.
It ensures that the barrier to entry is low enough for a broad demographic of students, graduates, and young professionals to participate without taking out a loan.
But mathematically, if you get hundreds of students registering at 200 CDs, you immediately generate a significant pool of initial capital to fund the operational costs and the prize pools.
Exactly. It leverages volume to create an immediate microeconomy. And for that fee, the ecosystem doesn't just hand you a set of dominoes and throw you to the wolves.
No, they have engineered a structured 3-phase onboarding process to ensure you actually receive value.
Phase 1 is the training camp. This is where they break down the strict rules, provide practical demonstrations, and offer strategy coaching.
They want to ensure the baseline competence of the entire league is high.
Phase 2 is the trial stage. Here, your performance under pressure is assessed, and you are grouped into the appropriate division, rookie, elite, or pro, based on actual data, not just guessing.
And finally, Phase 3 is the official competition. The leagues, the tournaments, the grand finale.
And if you are one of those top-tier players, if you master the tactical restraint and the working memory, the direct earnings are explicitly outlined, and they are substantial for a student.
The documents break it down. The league champion takes home 1,500 CDs, along with a gold medal, a trophy, and an official certificate that you can absolutely put on a resume.
Second place secures 800 CDs, and third place takes 500 CDs.
But the earning potential doesn't stop at the league table. Alongside the 38-match season, they run a separate high-stakes knockout tournament.
Think of it like the FA Cup.
Exactly. The winner of that tournament takes home a lump sum of 1,200 CDs.
And at the dawn of the following season, they host the Super Cup, pitching the league champion against the tournament champion in a single winner-take-all match for an additional 700 CDs.
Plus, they have monetized specific skills within the game.
There are special financial awards for the best strategic player and the fastest finisher, which are tied directly to sponsorships.
So if you are a dominant player, you can legitimately generate a very healthy side income purely from prize money, all while keeping your brain incredibly sharp for your academic exams.
But here's the crucial pivot.
This is the moment where the Optimus Optimi ecosystem elevates from a clever tournament into a true macroeconomic engine.
If the only people earning money were the 3 savants who mastered the domino table, this would be a failure.
It would just be a lottery for the mathematically gifted.
The genius of the founder is that the system intentionally creates, funds, and manages a vast network of operational roles for the non-players.
Wait, I need to push back and clarify this because this is the craziest part of the whole document.
Okay.
Are you telling me that a student could scrape together their 200 CDs, go through phase 1 training, realize they are absolutely terrible at the game?
They panic, they forget the live number, they get trapped in move-on loops constantly.
And they can still make an income from this exact same ecosystem.
100%.
Yeah.
Because managing a 20-team national league, coordinating a 38-match season across multiple divisions, enforcing transfer windows, and tracking points differentials requires a massive, highly competent administrative backbone. backbone.
Ah, I see.
The domino game is just the product. The ecosystem is the corporation that manufactures and sells it. The operational directive explicitly lists the paid roles that are generated by this demand.
Okay, let's look at these jobs. First, you have the referees and match officials.
Because the rules are so strict, because there is stoppage time and red cards for playing the wrong tile, you need trained, impartial officials at every single table.
You have league and tournament coordinators handling the logistical nightmare of scheduling 20 teams.
You have training facilitators who are paid to run the Phase 1 camps and teach the new recruits the tactical principles.
And then you have the media and content teams, which is arguably the most critical component of the entire economic engine.
The official documents mandate that all matches across all divisions shall be recorded and archived.
They are actively building a massive digital content library. They are treating this with the broadcast seriousness of an esports tournament.
This is where a communications major or a film student hits the jackpot.
You could have a student who doesn't care about dominoes at all.
But they need a portfolio. In this ecosystem, they are hired to set up the cameras, film the matches, edit the highlight reels of the best catching on the break moments, and manage the league's entire digital footprint.
They are getting paid to build a live sports media production resume before they even cross the graduation stage.
And you might ask, where does the money to pay the referee, the camera operator, and the tournament coordinator come from?
If they just rely on the 200 CD registration fees, the well runs dry very quickly.
But the financial model is deliberately diversified. The system is designed to leverage that digital media library to attract corporate and product sponsorships.
Brands want access to a highly engaged, competitive demographic of university students and young professionals.
The ecosystem monetizes the media content, generates event revenue from spectators who come to watch the knockout rounds, and eventually scales into merchandising.
It is a self-sustaining loop.
The players pay to compete. The media team films the players. The resulting content attracts sponsors.
The sponsors inject capital. That capital pays the media team, the referees, and boosts the prize pool for the players, which attracts more players next season.
The domino competition is literally just a Trojan horse. It is an engaging, highly addictive front end that practically forces the creation of a massive student-run back-end corporation.
It is a phenomenal structural achievement.
But the Optimus Optimi Ecosystem does not stop at dominoes or sports administration.
If we look at the final document we have, the summary profile, it reveals that the Domino League is just one pillar.
The flagship economic pillar.
Right. There are other distinct, rigorously structured pillars designed to guarantee a student's holistic success, bridging the gap directly back to their academic survival.
Yes, and this perfectly ties back to that terrifying national bar exam we talked about earlier.
Because if you are panicking about passing constitutional law, a domino championship trophy isn't going to save you.
But the ecosystem has built what they call the academic mentorship economy. And this concept absolutely blew my mind.
In a normal university setting, mentorship is an informal favor. A third-year student helps a first-year student out of the goodness of their heart, usually over a quick cup of coffee, and that's it.
In this ecosystem, knowledge itself is monetized.
It creates a formal marketplace for academic competence.
When a new member enters the Optimus Optimi ecosystem, they are provided with structured academic mentorship to ensure they survive their rigorous coursework.
But here is the genius mechanism. As that student advances, passes their exams, and proves their academic high-level competence, they don't just graduate out of the system.
They transition into providing mentorship to the next cohort, and they earn income through these structured academic roles.
It turns your ability to understand complex legal theory into a direct, immediate income stream.
You are literally getting paid to be a good student. It creates a closed-loop system where the smartest people are financially incentivized to pull everyone else up to their level.
And that philosophy extends directly into the research and professional work system.
The documents state that members are explicitly trained and then engage in real-world legal research, academic writing, and professional support tasks.
Which perfectly brings us full circle to the founder's origin story. Lawyer Nkrumah was doing high-level legal research and drafting case summaries for Supreme Court judges while he was a student.
He knew that experience was the key to his postgraduate success, so he built this specific pillar so that students within his ecosystem can get that exact same real-world exposure.
The organization sources the professional work, and the students execute it under strict supervision, developing their skills and earning a wage simultaneously.
And this is a massive, but you cannot run a system like this if the people involved are unreliable.
You cannot manage a national sports league budget, or provide paid academic mentorship, or conduct legal research that might end up on a judge's desk if you have a culture of flaky, casual participants.
You need absolute rigor. And that is why the ecosystem operates with a terrifying zero-tolerance policy for indiscipline.
You see the seeds of this discipline baked right into the rules of the domino game itself. The fouls and discipline section of the manual is incredibly intense.
If you are playing and you carelessly drop a tile that doesn't match the live number, the game stops immediately.
The tile is withdrawn, and you are issued an official caution.
If you make that mistake a second time in the same match, you're shown a red card. You automatically forfeit the round.
And heaven forbid you try to cheat. The rules explicitly state that if a player is caught hiding tiles, or if they fraudulently pretend they have finished their hand when they haven't, there is no warning.
There is no appeal. You are immediately disqualified from the match, your opponent is awarded the win, and you face disciplinary action from the league.
What is so crucial to understand is that this gameplay discipline is not just about keeping the game fair. It is a behavioral conditioning tool.
That exact same zero-tolerance policy translates directly into the broader ecosystem's corporate culture.
The profile document explicitly warns this is not an open or casual association. It is a structured system for serious individuals.
Members are expected to operate within non-negotiable principles of commitment, accountability, excellence, collaboration, and absolute integrity.
Because if you can't be trusted to honestly play a 2-4 domino tile when the clock is ticking, how on earth can you be trusted to manage the transfer budget for a pro division team?
How can you be trusted to research precedent for a constitutional law case?
You can't. The game filters for integrity, and the ecosystem rewards it.
The long-term vision outlined in the development plan is staggering. It maps out 4 phases, culminating in massive national expansion, cross-university leagues, and a fully integrated professional pipeline.
It is explicitly designed for intentional students who look at the passive academic timeline and say, no, that is not good enough.
It is a complete reimagining of what a student network is capable of achieving. It challenges the very foundation of the alpha generation educational model.
It actively tells the student, do not wait for the world to hand you an opportunity when you finally get your degree. Do not wait for the door to open.
Build the structure, generate the value, monetize the knowledge, and create the economy right now among yourselves.
Okay, let's bring this all together and land the plane.
We started this incredibly deep dive by looking at a systemic, deeply frightening problem. Students pouring years of their lives into an educational system, staring down the barrel of a brutal, high-intensity national bar exam, only to graduate broke, stressed, and without the practical skills to actually function in a beta-era economy.
We looked at the blueprint of a brilliant visually impaired founder who shattered that timeline by infiltrating the highest levels of the legal and corporate world while still taking classes.
And then we unpacked a seemingly impossible solution, taking a simple set of 28 domino tiles, stripping away the casual nature of the game, and engineering a mathematically rigorous, psychologically punishing format called the response run.
We saw how that game acts as the beating heart of a national league, complete with promotion, relegation, and mid-season transfer windows, which in turn forces the creation of a massive student-run corporation that generates administrative jobs, media portfolios, prize money, and a paid mentorship economy.
It is a beautifully comprehensive ecosystem that forcefully transitions the student environment from a passive waiting room into a high-functioning engine room of opportunity.
Exactly. And so, speaking directly to you, the learner, especially if you're a student feeling the crushing weight of those upcoming exams, or wondering how you're going to bridge the gap between your degree and your first paycheck.
If you are looking for a way to break out of that passive cycle, if you want an environment where you are forced to think fast, manage intense pressure, and practice the tactical restraint of a veteran litigator.
If you want a system where you can actually earn an income while you learn, whether that is by dominating the pro division on the domino table, negotiating player transfers as a team captain, directing a live sports broadcast, or providing paid academic research.
This ecosystem isn't just a club you join. It is a completely new, vital way to navigate your student life. If I were looking at this blueprint, I wouldn't just be walking to sign up.
Yeah.
I would be sprinting.
It is an absolute necessity for the modern academic survivor.
And I will leave you with this final thought to ponder as we wrap up.
If a simple everyday set of 28 domino tiles, an object you can find in the back of a closet in almost any household on Earth, can be fundamentally restructured with strict rules to teach advanced risk control, generate complex administrative jobs, and simulate a highly functioning, capitalized professional economy for students.
What other everyday pastimes, what other completely overlooked mundane resources are sitting right in front of us every single day, just waiting to be turned into engines of massive opportunity?